Welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast, where we discover who we are as souls and mothers through Reiki, spirituality, and healing. Hi, I'm Carolina, your host and Reiki master. I'm so very excited you're here today, and let's get started. Hi, I'm Carolina, and welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about navigating fertility by trusting yourself, and what does that look like? I have a very special guest. Her name is Kristen, and she is a dear friend of mine and also a member of my fertility membership called the Divine Feminine Fertility Collective. And we're just so blessed to hear her story today. I promise you'll be forever changed from just learning about her fertility journey and her spiritual journey along the process. So, Kristen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I am honored to be here.
I'm such a huge fan of yours.
Oh my gosh.
Can you give us a little intro about who you are, where do you live, what's your life about?
Sure.
About yourself?
I would love to. So my name is Kristen. I am from New York, actually Long Island. I am a special ed teacher who works in New York City in Queens. And I am a proud dog and cat mama. And I got married in July 2019. And my husband and I just bought a house last summer.
Oh, congratulations. There's so many beautiful milestones there.
Oh my gosh, so many. We're so lucky.
And how old are you, Kristen?
I'm 32. I had to think about that.
I know. And the 30s are like, that's not really 33 together. And I'm 38. I'm going to be 39. I'm like somewhere between calm and a little bit nervous of 40. But I'm a little excited. But we'll see how that goes.
40 is going to be great, man.
30s have been the best years of my life. Way fucking better than 20s.
I can say the same.
So tell me about your fertility journey. So you got married, you got your house.
So this is the journey. How much time do we have?
We get a lot. We got all the time for you.
All right. So let's see. We were married in July 2019. And I'm like, okay, honeymoon baby, let's go. That's really not the case. That? Oh, yeah.
Love that.
You know what? I knew I wanted to have a family. I am born to be a mother. I know this. So why not?
I love that confidence.
You know?
I was somewhere not like that. I was like, it'll come later.
Yeah. You know what, though? We lived together before we were married. I felt like we traveled. We experienced everything that we wanted to experience as a couple. So I would have loved a honeymoon baby. But it didn't happen. And every month, we tried and tried and tried, and it wasn't happening. And no one really talks about that. You know, I was surrounded by coworkers and friends who were easily having kids. So after a year,
accidentally,
yeah,
that's the hardest.
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
Yeah. And through this process, I'm like, okay, maybe we need to get checked out. Let's go to a fertility doctor. You know, we made the year mark of not having a child. So we go to a fertility doctor. We get everything checked out, every test possible. And they tell me, you know, you have a fallopian tube blockage on your left side. So I'm like, ooh, okay. So maybe this is why. So that was a little tough to swallow, because then you're starting to think like, when did this happen? What did I do to cause this? Was it something I ate? Was it something, you know, your mind goes to wherever Google brings it.
That's your Google MD.
Yeah. So
scary.
Once going through that, then we're like, okay, you know what? We'll see what the doctor recommends. The doctor recommends IVF, but I was not ready for that at that point in time. So let's try IUIs. You know IUIs, right?
So the doctor recommended that you take that you do an IVF.
Right.
And you didn't feel aligned with that?
No, I felt like I didn't get to try the precursor procedures to that. IUIs, naturally following my ovulation, things like that. So I kind of put my foot down and I said, you know what? I want to try IUI. I understand I have a blocked fallopian tube. Let's try for IUI. So we finally feel like we're in a good place with that. And then bam, we get pregnant, and it's an ectopic pregnancy.
In what tube? In the right tube?
We find out in the right tube after another procedure where they check your tubes again, and they say, you had an ectopic pregnancy, your right tube's blocked, but now your left tube's open.
Okay. That's an unexpected twist.
And that made me feel uncertain. It made me feel uncertain because how am I months before told that I have to do IVF because my left tube is blocked? And then I end up having an ectopic pregnancy. And then I end up being told, actually, my right tube is blocked and my left tube is open. Conflicting
All same
information.
doctor?
All same doctor.
Oh, so that makes you like not trust their guidance.
Absolutely.
Like, this doctor's not thorough enough.
Absolutely.
I would feel the same.
Oh, it was awful.
What else
So
did you feel in that moment? Like that must have been a wild to find out that you were pregnant. How did you process the ectopic loss?
the ectopic pregnancy certainly threw me for a loop because you pray and you pray and you pray to get pregnant. And then you find yourself, oh, I am pregnant, but now I need to terminate a pregnancy and get shots in my, am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Get shots in my ass
Fucker,
with the same medication that chemo patients take to get rid of something that I prayed for.
That's such a conflict.
Such a conflict. And then it's bizarre because there is grief for the feeling and having something so close and then having to say, I have to get rid of it. Because if I don't get rid of it, then it can erupt and be even a larger issue.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Potentially kill you.
Right. Right.
So now, as of right now, you don't have a right tube.
No. So luckily they found it early.
Okay.
And we terminated the pregnancy because it was still growing in the tube. And we had to wait a couple of months after that. And then we got the go to, okay, you could try IUI again.
Okay. So you have both tubes and
Yep.
and are you still at the same doctor at this point? You're like, all right, my gut says this, there's something up here. What happens? You keep going back to your gut. And what does that look like for when you're like, all right, this seems off to me? And how do you did you have doubts? Can you talk us through like how you're like trusting yourself through this point or listening to that inner voice? What are you doing?
I feel like at this point, I was not aware of my inner voice at all. I felt like I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. What can I do to get pregnant? What IUI, like every IUI we had from that moment, it kept getting canceled because they thought my right tube was blocked. So we really didn't try for another year. And it was just red flag after red flag after red flag. And it got to the point where I started trusting myself. We committed to doing IVF with this doctor, and they gave me the list of medications. And they told me that this was the list of medications because I was a social smoker. Meanwhile, I've never smoked in my life. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I need to take a step back because I'm ready to do something physically and mentally and emotionally. One of maybe the most challenging things that I have to do. And it does not feel right. I'm not in good hands. Maybe this is not what I should be doing. And from that point, I took a step back and it was just a reset.
And where were you? Where were you? What year was this reset?
This was, what year are we in now? This is 2022. Okay.
2022.
So this is the summer of 2020.
Okay, so during the pandemic, the first summer of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're handling all the pandemic stuff. And during that reset, did you like intentionally set any goals, or what were you seeking during this reset for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, as soon as I told my husband about like, you know what, we need to stop, we need to take a step back, he said, absolutely, whatever you feel we need to do, absolutely. I am your cheerleader. Like, I'm truly blessed. But for me, I felt like I had to let it go. I had to let go of trying to get pregnant. So like that was my identity. My identity was, what can I do to get pregnant? Because everything else in life is, if I work hard, I can get what I want.
Oh my goodness. That is, that's what I learned in my fertility journey. I am a reformed control freak.
I get it.
And I had led my entire life with masculine energy. And it was a coping mechanism to my trauma. I'll prove you wrong when I have nothing to prove to anyone in the end, and my worth doesn't need proving. But fertility, birth, and postpartum humbled me to the point of, the lesson was, and that's why I became a patient person. I was not a patient person before. That it's not, you can ace a test, I can pass the certifications, I can do all of the things, the to-do list, I can move across the country and reinvent myself and start a new life and learn to be happy. But like a baby, like, it's just not. I used to think that, oh yeah, when you're ready, you get off birth control, take out your IUD and have sex, and then you'll get pregnant.
Yep.
Oh no, that's not where it works at all. For a lot of people, and most people I know in my circles, it's not the case. Like, you can't control when the soul's ready to come, or like, if your womb is open, your sacral's open, if it's on a Monday or a Friday, or if the full moon or the new moon, like it just, and then and even more when it comes to birth, is like, how are they going to come out? Yeah, you can have a birth plan and it may not happen. And that's no fault of your own, or any blame to be had, or any shame to be holding on to, but it is something that is not talked about enough. Like, that's so heavy. But so what did you do next?
So learning to let it go. There's a lot of books that are titled Learning to Let It Go, and I tried reading them.
Really? I never looked to see the let it go.
You know what? I took time for myself. You know what? Actually, I'm thinking, Carolina, I think that this was like the summer of 2021, not the summer of 2020. Summer of 2021 is when I started letting it go. So this is recent. And it was kind of like, okay, if this isn't going to happen right now, what else can bring me joy? What is joy? What is happiness? I thought that having a baby was the only thing that was going to make me happy. It was a slow downward spiral, the 2 years leading up to that, year and a half leading up to that. I can't do math right now. So it was kind of like starting from scratch and thinking about what makes me happy, and making time for myself, and making time for rediscovering, oh wait, I'm creative. Oh wait, I used to play the piano. Let me try that again. Oh, I used to like painting. Let me try that again. Meditating. Ooh, let me try that. And I made space for that to happen.
So you were doing what I call womb work, shadow work. You were healing your womb by pursuing potential hobbies and curiosities and passions. And through that pursuit, you discover bits and pieces of yourself that your higher self wants you to know. And through those pursuits, you discover what you do and do not like. And through that, you are also healing yourself because you're raising your vibration.
Unknowingly.
Unknowingly. But the thing is that you listen to yourself and you trusted yourself and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I think that that's not only because the purpose of this podcast is to help women who are trying to conceive and are mothers. And I think if you're trying to conceive, you're already a mother. Like I know that that might be controversial to some, but the desire is in your heart. And mothers look so different. Families look so different. So I think if you're wanting to be a mom, you're already there, you know, the desire in your heart, then you already are a mom. But that's not the only thing that defines you. Us as people, you know, like, how do you take your eggs? Or do you like eggs? Like I don't like eggs Benedict. That's disgusting to me.
Wait,
But my
really?
husband, yeah, I tried them at the Ritz-Carlton when I went to this marriage conference in Naples. And I was like, well, if I don't like them at the Ritz, I guess I'm never going to like it anywhere. My husband,
You gotta come to New York. Come to New York. I'll bring you somewhere. We'll try eggs Benedict, and then maybe your mind will change.
maybe I'm open to trying them again. But discovering what your preferences are, like,
Mhm.
and just like discovering like anything. What's your opinion? Where do you stand on an issue? Like, how is your connection with soul? How, like, do you even see yourself as a soul? Like, these conversations and just navigating the fertility and the pregnancy and the postpartum is just one part of it. But you as a person are worthy to know who you are, because it's the one relationship that lasts the longest your entire life, your relationship with yourself. And I think it's so odd how little we know about ourselves, but
I
we always
know.
have opinions about others. So I discovered this as I have healed my womb for so long, that it's just really a pursuit of self. And
Pursuit of self and soul. Like when
the
I
soul, like, where are you? And then when I see like the soul, I just think it's the essence of your higher self embodied, you know, like, and then like so all the things that you were doing, I'm so proud of you for doing.
Oh, thanks. Well, you know what? It was awesome because it also led me into like listening to podcasts and reading books about soul, like just souls in general. I don't even know how to say this, but like reading the book Many Lives, Many Masters blew my mind.
I haven't read it. I'll have to look at it.
Oh
When you
my
say
gosh.
masters, I'll take
It
a look.
was about like past lives regression and therapy. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a second. So this is me, this is myself, this is my soul. But wait, maybe I've done this before. Maybe my soul has done this before. Maybe I signed up for this. Maybe I signed up for these challenges and I'm going to help others, me going through it. Maybe I can help others. I don't know. It's predetermined.
We call that soul contracts. So based on the belief that a soul contract is done before you reincarnate in this life and you travel with a certain group of people, those people meaning brother, sister, mother, father, aunt, uncle, cousin, husband, people who may hurt you, you have come into this life with those agreements and for the purpose of helping you learn a particular lesson and to fulfill a dharma, which is your life purpose. I believe that based upon the soul's enlightenment or journey in this life, some people reach that dharma and some people don't, because depending on how you learn to react or evolve from the pain or the happiness, can determine how much of your consciousness you are able to achieve, how many breakthroughs you're able to do, or if you're able to heal so that you can reach that. And each of those relationships influence you in some way and teach you the lessons that you need to have the change of perspective that your soul has agreed to learn in this lifetime. So definitely 100%. And that also includes souls we have lost. Their dharma is filled within the womb. And that's what I've studied. And I have found when I've communicated with souls that have been miscarried, babies that have been lost, or even aborted, is that they agreed that was their dharma was fulfilled, and what they came to learn was fulfilled within the womb. And that one is always really difficult to process, because, you know, especially for those who are trying to start their families, you know, why wouldn't the soul want to stay? But their life purpose and the agreement is done before. So, but it's also really, when those kind of sessions, really great to find out what was their life purpose as best as we can through channeling and cards and things like that. And also for them to give advice to mom now and learn what they're doing, and like what messages did they have about their experiences in the womb, and what do they have for the babies, the spirit babies that are in heaven? Are they going to reincarnate again? Because some souls, they'll reincarnate, like they'll try to come back. So maybe there is, like, in some instance, was this one girl I helped, and she miscarried, unfortunately, 3 times in 1 year, but it was the same soul.
Really? That's so fascinating.
And then finally, when she finally did get pregnant a year later, it was with a boy. It was a boy that kept coming through those 3 times. And then we took a break, and then we did a couple healing sessions. Oh gosh, this was years ago. And now she has I think her baby boy must be like 2 now.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really intense. But everyone's, like, all of those things are so unique to each person. And so how did you end up using Reiki with your journey? How did that come about?
Do you know how we even met?
No.
Okay, so
I guess I never asked you that.
No. So let's see.
I just assume you found me on TikTok.
So I am not a big TikToker person.
I know some people are and are not.
But my friend, so like when you're going through this fertility journey, you start connecting with, you know, people who are also going through the journey, because it's very hard to understand the emotions and everything that goes into it. So I grew close to this friend, and she told me, "Oh, I saw this this girl on TikTok, and she's doing a new moon free fertility Reiki session, and it's starting in 5 minutes, and I think I might join."
No.
And I said,
never told me this story.
And I literally was in bed in my pajamas, because, you know, I go to bed very early. And I'm like, maybe I'll join, just keep my camera off. I don't know. I don't even know what Reiki
what most
is.
people do every month I lead a free Reiki circle, because I believe everyone should have access to quality Reiki therapy and sessions. It's a collective, but it's all focused for fertility on the new moon and harnessing that new moon manifesting power. So if anyone's interested, you can find it on my website. But anyway, keep going.
So that's what hooked me. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll keep my camera off. I understand how this Zoom thing works, because I used it during the pandemic to teach my kids. So I'll keep my camera off. My friend ends up not even joining, but she just happened to tell me within the 5-minute mark. I join, I'm listening to your meditation, and I'm listening to you do Reiki on us. And after that session, I was like, I don't even know what this was, but I absolutely loved it. Oh. I loved the feeling. I loved where my thoughts went. I felt so at peace that whole night I'm on my phone. What is Reiki? Where did this come from? Everything that I could learn about it. I felt like I was like a bug, like kept flying into the light, and I could not stop. And that's what hooked me. And then I saw that you were starting your divine feminine fertility circle, and I'm like, you know what? I'm searching for joy. I am, you know, why not?
Yeah, because you're one of my founding members. You got an early. I remember you were on my wait list.
Mm-hmm.
and I had gotten COVID, and I was supposed to launch, gosh, I think it was supposed to be early September, and I got COVID, and we didn't launch till October. October 20th is when I launched it.
October is when we started. And that first meeting, you said so many things to me that made me think like, okay, how did she know that? How did she know this? Okay, I'm like, I need to keep coming.
I usually, if I connect with a person, especially the way that we do, your guides usually just tell me all the things, and I'm like, do you want to know or not know? And then I'll channel for you. I used to call myself a psychic medium, and I don't feel myself as a psychic. Two different things. What I consider myself as more of a, well, primarily, I'm a better healer than I am a medium. I think there's primary skills and then there's secondary skills, and in my abilities. And just for me as a primary, I'm a way better healer than I am anything else. Second is I'm a medium, so I'll just channel what I'm saying, like, and it's usually like fragments or like, does this make sense to you? These are the things, and then they'll make sense to the person. So for me, I thank you for all of those kind words. For me, I notice, particularly when in myself, just an observation, and then like when I teach students, is each person usually has a primary gift and like a secondary gift. And my primary gift is healing, and I'm able to hold space really well for individuals, small and large groups of people, and then make them feel seen, loved, and heard, and grounded. And then the second gift is mediumship. In mediumship, I'm able to channel just what the messages are given to me, but not a psychic. A psychic is really just someone that can foresee the future really well, and that's their interpretation. That's also symbols and things that are given. So like a person can be a psychic and they might be just reading cards, or they could be a psychic medium where they're able to foresee the future, but also channel and talk to the other side. I just feel like I'm more just a medium, and I'm just portraying, or not portraying, but channeling the messages that the guides and spiritual councils, what I like to call them, which is made up of angels, spirit guides, and light beings. I have Reiki guides that came with my attunement for Reiki. I really like to talk to also ancestors that may step through, and loved ones. And ancestors are usually like 7 generations back. They're like not like ones that we would have met in our lifetime. So there's that. But yeah, it's just so wonderful to have you part of the community, and just watching. The membership has been probably the greatest thing I've ever created. Like it's selfish of me, because I just feel like it's so fun, and it's just so enriching to meet all of these women from all over the world. We have people from Australia, we've had people in the UK, all across the United States, Washington, Florida, Louisiana, Omaha, that's not a state, Nebraska, Connecticut, Ohio, all over. So with you learning and being a part of this healing journey, or this Reiki journey, and the healing that you've received, how has that healing now impacted how you relate to yourself and trust yourself versus before?
I feel like it's helped. Well, I feel like Reiki has really helped me understand the different chakras and understand if I'm not feeling myself, where does that not feel myself in my body? Where am I holding? If I feel fear, if I feel sadness, or if I'm angry, where do I feel that in my body? And then you actually Reiki attuned me.
That's right, you're attuned to Reiki 1.
I know, I feel so honored. But it really, it has helped bring peace, and it's helped bring me back to center, if that makes sense. And it really it helps you move forward. It helps you, you know, not get lost in the fear and the sadness and the anger, and it just helps you move forward and feel centered again. And it really is healing. And to be able to do that on myself, it's like the biggest tool in my toolbox right now.
I love that. So do you feel like you have been able to when you have, because you've had recent decisions that you've had to make in your fertility journey on what you're going to do next. So now that you've done all of this healing and you've raised your vibration and you're more aware of your person, of your soul, how has that made you, or how was that next decision for you? And what did you feel when you made that decision?
So many feelings. So right now, as of recent, we have found a new fertility doctor.
Okay.
And even just the questions and the conversations that happened, I feel like there's trust. There's trust. And I feel like just picking up on that, I wouldn't have been able to do before. I would have just went with any medical professional who did a test on me and told me something. But now I just feel like there's a different perspective. So we have a new fertility doctor. We've had some of the same tests redone because it's been a year or so. And guess what? My fallopian tubes are not blocked.
Get out of town, sister.
They're not blocked. No. And I don't know if maybe they were. And now, working on myself and putting in the time to heal, now I'm aligned. Now, my physical body there's blood flow. There's, physically and mentally and emotionally. Maybe they unblocked that way. Maybe it was Reiki. I don't know.
I think that Reiki, I've said this in other podcasts, Reiki is not the end all for fertility. It's one slice of the pie. And I believe that Western and Eastern medicine have a purpose together. It's a happy place to be. A lot of people get acupuncture, do Reiki, and do IVF or IUI, and it's a happy outcome. And then I like to do Reiki wound blessings for every loss or any unsuccessful fertility treatment that was done to make sure there's no residual energy left from that experience so that the womb is as happy, harmonized, and as high vibration as possible to receive baby. And then mama is feeling lighter and at peace. So when you go into that next step of fertility, you are feeling as best as you can at that point.
And that's how I feel. That's how I feel right now.
And that's all we can do. Yeah. Because as we said, like, we can connect with the soul on the other side, but when they're going to come, it's up to them. Mm-hmm. And we have to make sure our womb is open. And your girlfriend, your womb is so open. We're ready to receive that baby. We're ready to.
I hope so. Well, hey, you know what? I have a doctor who I trust. My husband and I are so ready for this. And we are starting IVF next week for the first time ever. And
I'm so excited.
That was something I never thought that I would be ready to do ever. And we're ready. And whatever happens, it's going to happen. But we're going to be okay. We're going to feel what we need to feel. But we are still going to find joy in life,
I love that. What advice do you have for any mom, a woman, or person that is trying to conceive right now?
There's just so many feelings that they may be feeling, and give yourself grace. Number one, give yourself grace with whatever you have to feel, and don't judge yourself for how you're feeling, but also know that after you feel what you need to feel, there's tools and there's resources and there's support out there that I didn't know, and I feel better from it, so I know that someone else could feel better from it. And those tools and resources and support, connecting with people who are going through the same thing and surrounding yourself with positivity and making time for you. I never made time for myself in the way that I make time for myself now. And let me tell you, a nice bath is sometimes all you need.
I always say, if you don't know what to do and you feel paralyzed or you feel really stuck, and then you're confused by what you're feeling, but you know that something is there and it's really gray and you don't know how to move forward, I always say, drink a glass of water, eat a really good meal, and then go take a hot bath and then go to bed. Because if that means, like, the other night I didn't know what I was feeling, I had done all of those things and I was like, I can't sleep. I took a melatonin gummy from Target. Like, do what you have to do to get a good night's rest. And the next day I drank a cup of coffee, I journaled, and I was able to get the breakthrough. Right. And it was something I was holding on to that was making me really bitter. So it doesn't have to be necessarily be made aware of it in that moment, but definitely creating space and boundaries for you to slow down enough so eventually it will come to the surface, because emotions are layered, they're not linear, and they're not immediate sometimes. I can sense when my husband is off way before he can. I'm like, so you're agitated by so-and-so, so that didn't go well. And he goes, it went fine. I'm like, we kind of have a rule in our house that we're not supposed to use the word fine, because it's not descriptive of anything and it's just a cop out. So,
okay.
Ugh, but it's such it doesn't do anything, no service at all. So, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm like, all right, when you're ready to talk, I'm here for you. Just let me know. And it's just much easier to navigate that when you've had these, I was just watching Bridgerton, respites. These periods.
Season 2 is back. I cannot wait.
I don't know how I feel about it.
You can't stop.
I know. I even skipped to the end. I got bored. I was like, what's the last episode? So I skipped like 3 episodes of which I was like, this doesn't make sense. I know we'll watch it multiple times. I just need to know what happens. So, okay, maybe I'm not patient in all the things. Definitely not movies or television. Is there one for women that have gone through ectopic pregnancies? Because people will talk about miscarriage and losses in general, but even that's not talking enough. But specifically for ectopic, because usually in ectopic, like, you're the first woman I ever talked to that actually got to keep her tube. Some women lose the tube and her ovary, or just a tube. And that's super devastating, because, then that dramatically changes your fertility journey, and then your options and the probability of natural conception. For a person that survived ectopic, what advice you have for recovery for that person?
It's hard to tell, because I feel like I was very blessed with how, I wish it upon no one. I wish it never happened.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
Also I feel like I was very blessed, because the only reason why they caught it is because we were going to start the IUI. I got my period, nothing felt off. I just thought, okay, I got my period, we're ready to start the IUI. And I went for my ultrasound and blood work on day 3 of my period, and my blood work showed that there was a pregnancy growing, but it was not a normal pregnancy. And then so that's the only reason why I found out. If I was never going to a fertility doctor, I would have never known. So thinking about giving advice for someone, I feel like I didn't have it.
Your journey is still valid, and the recovery and loss and grief of your journey is still significant. it's still valid and it still happened. So as you process that grief, are there some things that really stood out that helped you through that time period? Or because that is such a unique experience, and your journey is also going to be helpful to other women, because now they might ask, can you check my tubes?
Yeah.
Can you, and because maybe they'll ask more questions in a different way, or maybe you bring up the word, a topic. Like, I didn't know that until a few years ago. So, because I've never had a ectopic, I never knew anyone that had an ectopic pregnancy, but like the grief and the processing and having to have taken those, gotten this shot, and having to, as you put it, rid your body of this after you had prayed for something for so long, that had to have a lot of pain with that.
There was a lot of pain. And all I wanted was to be with my family, and my family was stuck in Florida because of the pandemic. So it was a very lonely feeling. And, people said, well, at least it happened. At least you can get pregnant. And no matter what anyone said, I just had to go through it. But to give advice, I mean, it took months to start feeling better.
Isn't that okay? So that is a key thing with grief, but especially with miscarriage.
Yeah.
That the recovery is not a timestamp. That it can take some people are able to, I don't say get over, because I don't believe when you have, for me, how I see it is a death. In some, it's a death. You're mourning, and unfortunately in my life, I'm very familiar. I've watched a lot of family members die. So grief is very layered, and mourning is so physical and so different for so many people, depending on what resources they have or support. So your advice would be to give yourself time and space and get support in the way that you find comfort in, maybe?
Absolutely. I mean, if I could go back in time, I wish that I had the toolbox that I have now, that I use now, but I didn't. And at that point in time, staying busy and thinking, okay, I'm a planner. So I was like, okay, what's my next plan? When can I start trying again? That's the mentality that I had. And it didn't take until after I realized, wait, this really, like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm eating how many pineapple cores a week? And I'm drinking celery juice, and I'm not drinking any alcoholic beverages, any caffeine. I'm doing everything possible. I need to take a step back. And that's what helped me. That's when I think I started healing from the grief.
Because you took a time out to surrender.
Yeah.
One lady told me on TikTok on a live that she was going to give up on her fertility journey. And I think I pissed off some people. I said, well, then maybe you should. And I said, take a break, give up for now. But somewhere in the process, I always say trust the process, but always be looking for a way to ground. Because then when you're grounded, you're present, and you're able to make decisions from a different place than when you are frantic or upset or angry. And he said, you probably should give up and surrender to the process of, and the wanting to control. And I get the manifesting part and wanting to do it and doing all the things and like everything that you want to do. But at the same time, that's where I had gotten in my journey, and I had said, okay, I'm done, because I had done the doctors, and when you surrender, then you move into a different place. You're like, all right, you kind of like go through almost the same stages of grief. Like, I'm done, I'm taking a break, I'm in denial, and then you move into acceptance. That's not the right, all the phases, but then you move into a transition of peace. Whatever happens will happen, and you release control. And in that space, when you release control and you have open palms versus tight hands, you're able to receive more. And again, and then so emotional health and finding joy and being present, it's so unique to every person's journey. And I'm not saying that, yes, we give up and then you move into a place of peace and automatically you're going to get pregnant. No, that's not it. But it's sometimes the break that you need then to go back to the doctor and say, okay, I took a break. I'm more at peace now. What are my options? What is my body? And then do the check-in and make the appropriate decisions, or find a new doctor if the doctor isn't aligned with you, so that when you are moving forward, you're feeling empowered by it. So when you are moving forward, that you're at peace with it, and there's less fear, and trying to and making sure that sacral is open. Because when you are those things of more at peace and you are having fulfillment, and even like some people are just like, I think you need to stop. Or, you know, maybe like if I do a reading and I see that there's a disconnect, if I'm looking at a person's energetic field, I'm like, you need to date your husband, or I need you to date your spouse more. I need you to recreate that connection. Their sacral is blocked, but yours is open. So like that's quite possible. So everyone's journey is different, but sometimes whether a person says they want to give up, or it can be a timeout, it could be a break, or if you do want to give up, but also it's your life, you get to do what you do. We're here just for support, to provide, you know, a little bit of the insight from the emotional and spiritual side of the fertility journey and pregnancy and postpartum. I thank you so much for your time, Kristen. You were absolutely a blessing in my life, and I'm sure your story is going to impact so many others. And we just send you all of the love, all of the Reiki, and all of the miracles for your fertility journey. And again, thank you for being a blessing to us, and thank you for being on this podcast.